This guy is one of the worst players to win Worlds.
Doran looking to get things kicked off. Hookshot wall that brings him over. He's taking the tower already. Flash back to get away from Cuz's ultimate. And the ulti manages to connect from Doc.
We're back with spots 10 through 6 of the worst players to ever win the League of Legends World Championship. And I bet you not a single one of you remember the last name on this list. But before we get to him, let's talk Ghost. Following Damwon's disappointing exit at Worlds 2019, Ghost became the glue that helped the squad win Worlds 2020. Ghost was constantly left to fend for himself. No support, no ganks, no problem.
As now he's just getting kited. Oh. You did not want to hit that one, Trophy, as he latched in.
Oh,
no, dear.
At Worlds 2020, he averaged a 7.6 KDA, the highest among all 80 carries at the tournament. According to legendary support Madlife, Ghost was always a scrim god, but in 2020, he finally lived up to his potential. Ghost was also unique compared to almost every Worlds winning 80 carry, because he led the charge in communications.
보자. 봐도 돼. 좀 가야겠다. 해볼까 아니면? 해보자. 빨리.
The problem for Ghost was his teammates. Playing the weak side 80 carry for arguably the greatest topside of all time is not a particularly difficult task. As one article puts it, Ghost was the perfect cog for a specific machine, a player whose value was maximized by a specific set of teammates, but who lacked the individual brilliance to lead a roster to success independently. Now that's the obvious knock against Ghost, but that's actually not the only reason he's on this list. Ghost was also an extremely limited player, which he admits himself. Until now, compared to champions with a lot of utilities such as Ashe, Jhin, and Senna, I accept the fact that I was definitely worse on champions that can just take over the game. Ghost was unable to make up for his limitations on other teams, suffering disappointing performances before role swapping to support. What saves Ghost from being ranked higher on this list is that he was never the reason his team lost. But that's not the case for the next person on this list.
And right now, I feel like their mega rate is...
What?
What on earth?
The 9th worst player to win Worlds is Doran. Doran saw his fair share of success even before joining T1. But despite that, the top laner was constantly ridiculed by the community. See, for all his great plays, Doran would routinely make hilarious blunders, often in the most crucial moments.
Doran! That's 4 people! Concussive blows, the Cyclone immediately comes out as well. Doran can't push a single!
One article notes, the player carried his reputation as a loser and choker in international events. Even on T1, Doran's ugly side often reared its head.
Going to win inside lanes against anyone that KT has. There it is. There's that conversation that we were going to have about that one as, what? Doran just died to Krugs because he felt like it.
But at Worlds, Doran was determined to help T1 win. He averaged the 2nd highest kill participation among top laners despite receiving little in resources, and he was having a great tournament. But then, in the most important game of the entire tournament, he almost cost T1 the World Championship.
It's tough to hold on.
Doran looking to get things kicked off. Hookshot wall that brings him over. He's taking the tower already. Flash back to get away from Cuz's ultimate, and the ulti manages to connect from Dom.
Thankfully, Faker and the rest of T1 were able to keep Doran composed, and T1 were able to secure the win. Doran is a decorated player with obvious talent, but his propensity to consistently make catastrophic, potentially game-losing mistakes in crucial games makes him a dangerous player to have on your team. Which actually made me think, who are some other players like Doran with immense talent who also routinely make boneheaded mistakes? The first name that came to my mind was NBA center JaVale McGee. See, McGee was an incredibly talented 7-footer with great athleticism, but he quickly became more famous for his mistakes than his highlights. McGee, like Doran, was able to rebound, winning 3 NBA championships in his career and playing a crucial role in the Los Angeles Lakers win in 2020. Who are some other Doran-like characters that you can think of? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, back to the list, the 8th worst player to win Worlds is Looper. Looper was amazing during Samsung White's 2014 World Championship run. He averaged the highest KDA of the entire tournament with a 12.0, and he was also called a TP god for a reason.
Cola will go down. Turn! Whoa! Gets himself
The controversy with Looper is who really made those amazing plays. Around this time, a rumor started to surface that Looper was only able to make those amazing plays because Mata was directing him to. Looper contested this idea. He later said, "Some fans say that my good performance was because of Mata. I want to say that I was good too. Please remember me too. Especially since most of those teleports were my decision." Whether it was Looper making those decisions, he tried to show the world he could be good without Mata in 2015. And things didn't go well.
The dive does secure first blood, and Looper tries to go in, but Vasily lives on a sliver of health. Now comes Carry, Mega enough bomb, flash while the Dandy gonna rustle back in. Hook there on Tomato, lands after the flash. Love City
even later down the line in NA, he was below average for the entire year before retiring. His only successful season after winning Worlds in 2014 came on RNG. And guess who the support player was for that team? Looper's talent was immense, but his hyper-reliance on Mata to reach any sort of success makes him the 8th worst player to ever win Worlds. But he's still better than this next guy, someone many of you think should have been included in my first video. But before we get there, I thought we would do a quick true or false question to test your League of Legends knowledge. Since we're talking about the teleport god himself, Looper, here's a teleport question. Teleport was an alpha item before becoming a summoner spell. True or false? If you answered true, you'd be correct. Prior to becoming a summoner spell, the alpha items Ancient Pocket Watch and Scroll of Teleportation served the same function as teleport. Now, let's get to the 7th worst player to ever win Worlds, Pyosik. Despite winning Worlds in 2022, he failed to receive offers from major LCK organizations, and for good reason. You never know which Pyosik you're going to get. In LCK Summer 2020, Pyosik was a solid jungler. Then by Summer 2021, he became one of the worst junglers in the LCK, averaging the worst KDA and the 2nd worst win rate of any jungler in the league. And then, the next year, he leads his team to a World Championship win. And then, again this year, he's back to being one of the worst junglers in the LCK. Even during 2022, his numbers were bang average among LCK junglers. If it wasn't for Yuhuan subbing in and replacing Pyosik, the team might not have even made it to Worlds. Pyosik actually talked about being subbed out, saying, "Personally, I think I'm not very consistent. In a way, I'm angry at myself that I'm not starting, but at the same time, I'm relieved since someone can take my place when I'm not doing well." But at Worlds, Pyosik was incredibly impactful. He averaged by far the highest kill participation on the team, and he was crucial in multiple key victories for DRX.
4K health should be a clean smite. Whoa, it's gone!
However, in the World Finals, Pyosik's errors almost cost DRX the series.
Can he steal it?
Kuma will have to fire a
So on one hand, DRX could not have won Worlds without him, and he was easily one of the most important pieces to their Worlds run. But on the other hand, his absurd inconsistency and unreliability at the jungle position of all roles makes him an even more dangerous player to have on your team than Doran. Plus, his lack of success outside of that one miraculous Worlds run puts him as the 7th worst player to win Worlds. Now, before we get to the 6th worst player to win Worlds at the top of this list, I have a few quick honorable mentions. First, I want to shout out Piglet. Piglet was a top-tier AD carry during SKT's 2013 run, but quickly fell off in 2014 and was unable to find much success in North America. However, the fact that he was arguably the best AD carry in the world for a period of time puts him above many of the players on this list. And another name for the honorable mentions is Kingen. Now, a lot of you thought I should have included him in the first list, but I just think how important he was to DRX, winning the Finals MVP and being able to compete against Zeus in that series was a big reason DRX was able to win in the first place, so I didn't think Kingen deserved to be on the list. However, I know it's not the craziest thing in the world to have him on the list somewhere towards the bottom, so if you want to argue that, you can. So with that said, can anyone guess who's at the top of this list? If you guess Lil Balls, first of all, I'd be surprised, and also, you'd be right. The worst player to win Worlds on this list is Season 2 World Championship jungler, Little Balls. See, for my original list, I didn't want to include players from Season 2 and Season 1 because the game was so different, and realistically, if I'm including Little Balls, he might even overtake LWX and Crown, from my original list, which would make him the 4th worst player to ever win Worlds. So what made Little Balls so bad? So Little Balls was hardly a factor in TPA's success at the Season 2 World Championship. Although the jungler was not terrible by any stretch, he was simply an average support jungler for some of the strongest players of the time. One article notes, he was a run-of-the-mill herbivore jungler that farmed up to mid-game to have an impact. TPA at the time had Toys, the superstar mid laner that was building 50+ CS leads on his own. They had Stanley, the dangerous top laner, BB, the silent carry, and even Mistake, who wasn't amazing as a support player, was an innovator for the time. Little Balls was neither a superstar or an innovator. He was always in a position to be a strong meat shield, offering excellent peel. The biggest indictment against Little Balls is his post-World Championship success. Little Balls immediately became a weak point for the team the following year and was later kicked from the roster. Following his departure, he simply went into coaching immediately, before becoming a caster. Little Balls had such a short spark of glory that wasn't even the result of his own play, before becoming completely irrelevant as a professional player. So for those reasons, he is at the top of this list. And so combining both lists and accounting for my last-minute addition of Little Balls, here is my new 10 worst players to ever win Worlds. Ghost, Doran, Looper, Pyosik, LWX, Crown, Little Balls, Blank, Gimgoon, Baolan. Now, I'm pretty happy with this list, and I'm pretty sure you're all going to agree too, so let me know in the comments how right I am. Plus, make sure to subscribe to see the next video.